Welcome back to another edition of the Pagcast. I'm your host, Michael Pagani, joined alongside Trevor Grout, who covers the Tampa Bay Lightning for the Scrum Sports website. Trevor, welcome to the Pagcast. Thank you again for coming on.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. Anytime I get to jump on one of these things, I mean, it's weirder doing it via video nowadays, but, take what I can get.
Earlier on during this pandemic, a lot of people indulged in Netflix, to say the least, because really that was the only thing we could do. What did you do to keep yourself busy?
Without a lot of I've been blessed with a lot of writers on my staff because I own the Scrum. So kind of keeping them going. I saw you asked one of your prior guests what he watched on Netflix, and Tiger King was a big thing early on for me. That actually part of that takes place here in Tampa because Carol Baskins is here in Tampa. But a lot of video games, planning for a wedding. Me and my fiance are getting married next month, so just keeping as busy as humanly possible, and without hockey up until recently. So it's been a little been a tough ride.
I'm sure that all sports fans can agree with you with it being a tough ride because, we opened up with NASCAR and Bundesliga being the first two, big sports to return to the, whole industry, I guess you could say. And then, slowly we got news about the four major league sports here in North America, MLB, NBA, NFL, and NHL. With the NHL coming back, has that brought normalcy back into your life?
Little bit, being somebody who covers the team, being in the press box, I've got two or three other writers that, I have on staff that cover the team as well. And I mean, technically we'd be in our off season right now. Actually, we'd be preparing for the upcoming season at this point. So it's been a little different. I forgot to shave my beard prior to the playoffs. So my playoff beard's growing a little longer than normal, but I mean, it's nice when the Lightning came back, when the NHL came back. Obviously we're not covering in Edmonton or Toronto, we're covering from our homes, but it's been good. Watching, NFL's getting ready to come back this Thursday night, I think is the first game.
This week, Chiefs and Texans.
Yep, and then the Bucks will be playing Sunday against New Orleans. So it's nice to see normalcy again. Even though fans won't be allowed in the stadiums and stuff like that, I think you're going to start to see that coming back sooner than later. I mean, dude, I did a podcast for the Tampa Bay Lightning before the season shut down, and on our last show of the season, I sat there and I said, this is going to be 30, 45 days max. I was a little wrong.
Yeah, just a little bit.
I got that number a little off there. So, but it's nice to see some normalcy and stuff like that. I started up a non-sports podcast during quarantine just to kind of keep myself active. So it's going.
How has your whole perception of the coronavirus changed since March, when initially the NHL and NBA both paused their seasons on March 12th?
Oh, don't ask me that question. You don't want to hear my conspiracy theories. I've had people that have had it. There's been some big names that have had it. Cameron Brate for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers was one of the Buccaneer players that had it. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, AJ Styles,
Von Miller,
Tom Hanks, Von Miller. Do I think it's as bad as everybody says it is? I don't think so, but that's my opinion. I think it's going to end up being just like the common cold, just like H1N1, swine flu, Zika. It's going to be around, but it's not going to be. I mean, this year we had a case in, I think, Colorado of the bubonic plague. I think a monkey had the bubonic plague in Colorado, and the bubonic plague's been gone for
God knows how long.
Yeah, so it's going to be a regular thing every year. It's going to be like the common cold. I just hope by January fans can start getting back into the arenas. They can start to see their favorite teams play, and I can get back into the press box. Although covering the teams, I think, is going to be – I think they're going to continue to do Zoom meetings going forward. I don't think you're going to get much locker room access anymore.
And why do you think that, we're going to go ahead in the future with Zoom meetings and not go back to, locker room access?
It's just a gut feeling I have. It's nothing I've been told either way. It's just kind of a gut feeling. It kind of gives the team a little more control. So I think teams are starting to kind of like doing it. But even if they open up to in-person player interviews, I still think you're going to have, I don't think it's going to be in the locker room. I think the days of actually going into a locker room are done.
Getting into your story a bit here, who was your biggest influence to get into sports journalism?
Oh, God. I never really had an influence. I did have a friend of the family who was in the radio industry for a lot of years, just recently retired 3 or 4 years ago. And I always wanted to get into radio. Well, I always loved sports, so I was like, oh, well, I'll do sports radio. Ended up going to Connecticut School Broadcasting here in Tampa, graduated, and before I even graduated, I had an internship with 95.3 WDAE, at the time 620 WDAE. Got to intern for Rick Strout and Tom Jones, two of the bigger newspaper guys who got a radio show here in Tampa, as well as Ron Diaz and Ian Beckles. Ian's still a good friend of mine to this day. Once that internship ended up going over to 98.7 The Fan, and up until they flipped formats about 6 months after I was there. So that was kind of the point where I was like, me and a buddy of mine at the time said, hey, why don't we do our own thing and control our own destiny? And that's what we've done. I think this December will be 6 years the Scrum has been around, and we're growing every year. We're trying to be outside the box of what other people do.
And how have you used your prior experience to help you, with writing today?
I'll tell you this right now. When I came into this, I was not a good writer. I was not a good writer. Because remember, like I said, I got into this at 32 years old. So I was a lot of years removed from high school, and, some of the basic things that, you would learn in high school and whatnot, I'd kind of forgotten. So luckily I have a guy on my staff who's probably one of the most OCD grammar people there are. He's actually my VP, Brooks Rowland, one of our other Lightning writers. And I got to where I am today, and I still don't think I'm the best. The biggest thing is, in anything you do, you got to strive to be better every day. And that's what I do. I never sit there and I'm never stoic or lazy or sit back and go, all right, I'm good. I'm good where I'm at. I always want to be bigger and better.
And how did you end up writing for the Lightning and not choosing, the other Tampa Bay sport teams that are there?
So I write for all of them, actually. Our site covers all 3 teams, and I do a little bit for each when needed. Being the owner, I kind of let my section leads handle that. I actually grew up a Lightning fan. I went to their first ever fan fest back in 92. And ended up going to their first ever game against the Minnesota North Stars at the Florida State Fairgrounds Expo Hall. I still have the banner to this day. It sits in my office. But, I kind of gravitated to the Lightning. And then when I went to 98.7 The Fan, my assistant program director at the time, Jerry Petuck, who used to be the producer for Steve Dumig over at 620, asked me, he said, hey, do you want to be a field reporter and cover the Lightning? And I said, yeah. So when the fan flipped, I'd already built that relationship with the Lightning. They already knew who I was. So it was kind of an easy transition where I already had my foot in the door. Had I tried to do it without my foot already in the door, it would probably have been a completely different experience.
Just how critical is it to have these connections at the NHL level to report for an NHL team?
Well, they're very critical. Brooks and I actually got to cover the All-Star game here 3 years ago when it was in Tampa. And obviously all the NHL, vets their media people very closely. And the fact that we're both members of the Pro Hockey Writers Association didn't hurt. But, the Lightning, I'm sure, had very good things to say about us. Reputation in this industry is key. If you don't have a good reputation, you're not going anywhere.
What factors play into successful reporting?
Well, your reputation is one, because if people don't trust what you're saying, they're not going to read your stuff. Backing up everything you say. A lot of people tend to shy away from being critical of a team they're covering, in fear they're going to hurt somebody's feelings or get somebody upset with them. I wrote an article once upon a time when Steven Stamkos was entering his first year of unrestricted free agency. I wrote an article called "Why Losing Steven Stamkos Isn't a Bad Thing." And did I want to see Steven Stamkos leave the Lightning? No, not as a fan, not as a member of the media. He's a cornerstone to this organization. But I also wanted to be the guy that wrote an article that
Outlined,
people were talking about. Huh?
Just kind of like outlined, some of the possibilities that could happen if Stamkos did leave in free agency.
That, and when I write an opinion piece like that, I like to write what people are talking about, but nobody else is writing about.
And what about your writing style kind of catches the attention of the fans?
I like to throw a little personality. Everybody and their mother can write a hockey recap. Anybody and their mother can write a hockey article. I like to infuse it with a little bit of pizzazz, a little bit of personality. Like to break it down, make it. I like to steal a line from Tommy Boy. I like to write articles for the common man because that's who I am and that's who I care about. The common fan's the one that's going to read your articles. Even the diehards are going to read your articles. But a lot of the common fans don't understand the advanced statistics that are out there. Heck, I've been covering the NHL for 6 years, and some of the advanced statistics I don't even understand.
I'm with you in that boat.
So I like to write a very in-depth article, but one that anybody can sit down and read and understand.
As a reporter like yourself, one of the main goals is to remain as credible as possible. How long did it take for you to reach that plateau?
I think I'm still striving for that. Do I have the respect of most of the people in the press box? I'm assuming I'm still welcome back every game. It's one of those things where credibility is the biggest thing, and when you lose it, it's gone. I try to be as unbiased as possible. Sure, there's a little part of me that, being a homer, being a Lightning fan, for, 28 years? Yeah, 28 years. Sometimes I get a little iffy on that, but, I try to stay as down the middle as possible. I try to report things as they are. And, it takes time. I'm not going to put a timeline on it. I'm not going to say you get it 6 months, a year. When big market outlets start looking at you, that's when I think you truly made it. But like I said, I've got my own thing I'm working on, and even if a big market publication came calling, I don't think I'd ever take it. I think I'd stay where I'm at with my guys.
With the NHL reporting 0 phase 4 COVID-19 tests for around the 5th week in a row now, how has that reassured you that this whole bubble thing is working?
Well, I mean, you saw with the NBA when they first started their bubble. I think they started a week or so before the Lightning or the NHL. They had a few issues. But I think the way the NHL set it up has done it, I think, has been first class, has been top notch. And you see it. I mean, as you said, there's been no positive tests for God knows how long. In the NBA, when they first popped in their bubble, there were, test after test after test was coming positive. Guys were sneaking out of the bubble. In Seattle, you had that rookie that snuck somebody into the team hotel in team gear. It's nice to see the NHL doing it right, and it's nice to see the players buying into it. Because at the end of the day, if the players didn't buy in, it wasn't going to work.
And I mean, you're completely correct there because, as we see with the MLB, they can't bubble because of the roster size. But, just like, there was a whole outbreak there with the Cardinals that, really pondered the question to everyone and even, reporters and sports fans, like, is the MLB going to shut down now? But, it's nice to see that the NHL and, everyone is taking it as serious as possible.
No, it is. And I mean, I think there could have been a way to do a bubble with Major League Baseball. I mean, you got to think about, they would have had to redo the entire schedule, which I think they pretty much did anyways. It could have been done. I mean, you could have done a bubble in Florida and a bubble in Arizona and had minimal travel between the two cities. I think that could have lessened the impact they had. But hey, Rob Manfred wanted to do it his way. He did it his way. People have questioned him with the outbreaks that the Marlins, the Cardinals had. So, I mean, in this day and age, there's no right way and wrong way. There's testing how and seeing how things work, and the NHL has been the most successful of the three.
At the start of June, or when Gary Bettman did make the announcement about the return to play format, what were you initially thinking?
Thank you, God, hockey's coming back. And that's not just, like I said, that's not just as a member of the media. That's not, just as a fan. That's as somebody who looked at it as, okay, we're going to have a little bit of normalcy coming back. I respect the way that Gary Bettman and Bill Daly have been able to make the bubble work, have made it successful. But I watched, much like everybody else, I watched that first game back, the first exhibition, just because I was like, wow, thank God hockey's back. I can actually stop driving my fiance crazy.
I think March 12th, 2020 will always be a day in history where sports fans will look back and say, it was a horrible day because that's when the NHL paused this season. Where were you when the league initially paused?
I was at the house. I think I was actually in my office typing up something. And I think, if I'm correct, that was actually the night they were supposed to play Philadelphia. And I was actually supposed to cover that game. So, I was just kind of chilling at the house, getting ready to cover that game that night. And word came down, and, I think because of what happened with the NBA, I think they could have went another week or two. But when Rudy Gobert, tested positive for the Utah Jazz, I think that's the final domino that caused the NBA and the NHL to shut down.
Did you ever think at the time that the NHL would come back, or were you on the side that, the NHL is just going to cancel the whole season?
I had hope. I had a lot of hope, but it was a weird time. There was not a lot of certainty. Things. We were being confined to our homes, only being allowed to go out and make necessary trips to the convenience store, to the grocery store, and when things started reopening and Florida had another spike, I was like, man, thank God they're doing this up in Toronto and Edmonton. I think if the NHL didn't go with the bubble, I don't think they would have come back.
What has surprised you most to the point, to today where we are right now?
I don't know if anything surprised me at this point. I think the biggest surprise is that all three major sports leagues are going to be going. Actually, I think the biggest surprise sports related during COVID is Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson buying the XFL.
That is a big surprise. I didn't see that one coming.
Yeah, from his former boss, Vince McMahon. Because we were actually credentialed with the Vipers, too, before that shut down as well. Yeah, I don't think much surprises me anymore. I'm just ready for it to be over and get back to complete normalcy.
I can agree with you there. I'm pretty sure everyone can agree that we want to go back to what we, used to know as the regular normal, and go back to going to the arenas and sitting, beside another fan and cheering when the home team scores.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean, even being in the press box, all the people I've gotten, to be friends with, I miss seeing them. So it'll be nice. Heck, it'll be nice to even go to a game every so often again, as you said, and sit next to a fan, drink a overpriced beer, get an overpriced hot dog, and just enjoy the atmosphere.
Did you get a sense that it was a storybook ending when Tampa exercised their demons against Columbus in this year's playoffs?
Oh, God. Are you asking the member of the media or the fan?
How about both?
So, member of the media, was nice to see it happen. Nobody, after the historic regular season the Lightning had in 2018-2019, nobody expected Columbus to basically walk into Amalie Arena and wipe the floor with the Lightning in 4 games. Obviously, those weren't all at Amalie, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's the media opinion. The fan opinion, thank God, because had they lost to them 2 years in a row, ooh, that would have been rough.
How surprised were you about the 2019 sweep?
It was probably the most shocking thing I've seen in a long time. It was probably the most shocking thing I've seen since the Boston Red Sox came back to beat the New York Yankees in the playoffs 10 years ago, 12 years ago.
Seems like forever.
Yeah. So, I mean, every year, the best part about the NHL is it's the most unpredictable playoffs. So it's anything can happen. I mean, do I think the President's Cup is a curse? When you look at how many teams have won it total compared to how many teams have actually won the Cup, it's definitely not something, if I was an NHL player, I'd want.
How many cups of coffee or tea did you go through during that 5 overtime thriller?
Thankfully, I was not the one covering it. That was my lead Lightning writer, Michael Raper. It wasn't coffee I was drinking, but I had quite a few. Finally had to, thankfully it was an early game.
Yeah, I know.
It wasn't a late game. But no, I had a few beverages during that at the house.
Now, after that game ended in 5 overtimes, everyone took to Twitter and complained that the NHL should drop down to 4-on-4, 3-on-3 overtime. What are your whole thoughts on that commotion?
I wouldn't mind it. I think it'd be kind of cool, but at the same token, I wasn't a fan of the shootout when they brought that to eliminate ties. It wasn't until I saw my first ever live shootout that I changed my opinion on that. I think maybe once it gets past 3, you start dropping it. But I mean, it's something that's been a staple of the league. So leave it. At the end of the day, I say leave it.
That
I was
5
actually,
sorry.
I don't know if you saw my Twitter. I was having fun with that game. I was doing oh God, how did I put it? I was doing a whole series of tweets. I think one of them was Stamkos's kid will be in his 5th NHL season by the time this game ends.
Well, I mean, I don't blame you there.
So Zdeno Chara would have another tweet I would have done. Zdeno Chara would probably retire by the time this game ends because it seems that guy is never going to retire.
Yeah, he is coming back for another season. I mean, that guy's a tank.
He is, but you can definitely tell he's definitely lost a step.
Yeah.
He may still have the shot, but he doesn't have the wheels he once had.
That 5 overtime thriller was Rick Peckham's, the play-by-play for the Bolts. That was his last game. How has your relationship with him grown over the years?
It's funny. I actually I met Rick before I got into the I met him shortly after I got into the media. But I actually didn't meet him at the press box. I met him somewhere else. And we casually chatted. Every time I'd come up to the press box, I'd pop my head in and say hi. And, it was sad to see him go. I mean, this is a guy who's been the voice of Lightning for, seems like forever. And between him and Dave Mishkin, I don't think there's another Dave Mishkin, obviously our radio, the Lightning's radio play-by-play guy. I didn't think there was any teams that could compete, with their own in-house staff. And he will be missed. They obviously haven't named a replacement yet. Brian Engblom will still be the color guy. So it'll be interesting to see who they bring in and, who takes over the mantle. I remember hearing an interview years ago when Dave Mishkin took over the play-by-play, and his calls are, especially Stanley Cup call, Phil Esposito thought the guy was having a heart attack the first goal he called because of how enthusiastic he gets. So, I've been blessed to be on a ride with this team in one way or another, since their inception, and now I just get to be in the arena and cover the team.
What ran through your head when Tuukka Rask decided to opt out of the bubble and return home with his family back in Finland?
That's his choice. I'm not a Boston Bruins, the fan in me was like, okay, well, this might make, if the Lightning face the Bruins a little bit easier, which Halak didn't make it that much easier. But, that's his choice. That was his decision. And, people that don't respect it, well, then, so be it. That's his choice. We had, a local radio host here in Tampa that said Stamkos had left the bubble and was headed home due to injury, but that didn't turn out to be true. So, I mean, these guys can, do what they need to do because at the end of the day, family's number one.
Yeah. Speaking of Steven Stamkos, how heartbreaking is it to see his career kind of derailed by injuries?
It sucks. I've had a couple conversations with Steven in the locker room, very minimally conversations. It's tough to see. I mean, this is a guy who could have taken a lot more money and left Tampa, but he took a lot less to finish what he started after he was drafted here. Hedman followed suit, Kucherov followed suit, Vasilevsky followed suit, all took a lot less than market value to stay in Tampa. So it does suck. You know, a lot of people were expecting when the restart happened that they'd get a healthy Stamkos back in the lineup, but unfortunately that wasn't in the cards. So we'll definitely see. As of now, Cooper has, in essence, said that Stamkos will not play in the Eastern Conference Finals. So there's still a chance he makes it. If the Lightning get to the Stanley Cup Final, there's still a chance he could play.
Has there really been a missing hole with him not in the lineup?
Oh, absolutely. 100%. You look at their power play when he was healthy this season, and you look at their power play when he wasn't. I mean, dude, that one-timer from that faceoff circle is deadly. Ryan Miller said it years ago in a video I watched. They asked, who is the one player you don't want to see anywhere near you? And he said Steven Stamkos. That guy's got a deadly shot from that faceoff circle that if you're not on your game that night, he'll put every one of them past you.
Like you mentioned, the Lightning are in a cap crunch because, a lot of players took less than market value. If you were the general manager, what moves would you start out by making?
Oh, God. I haven't even put that hat on yet. I'd have to have a bunch of websites open to truly give you a detailed answer on that one. I mean, you got Mikhail Sergachev's coming up as an RFA. You got Anthony Cirelli that's coming up as an RFA. I believe Eric Chernak is coming up as a RFA. The best thing that Julian Brisebois could have done is learn under Steve Yzerman for all those years, and that's what he did. Here in Tampa, there used to be a joke in Yzerman we trust, or trust the Yzer plan. That's holding over to Julian Brisebois. Just trust in what he's doing. He sat in the same room with Yzerman for a lot of years and learned from what I think is one of the best GMs in hockey. And he'll get it done. He'll make the moves that need to be made to keep the organization successful.
Who, in your opinion, is a prospect in the organization that can make a push for a lineup spot next season?
Callan Foote. I think you're going to see Coburn. I think you're going to see a depleted defensive core next season. I don't necessarily know who's going to leave, whether it be via free agency, via trade, but I do think Callan Foote somehow, some way makes the roster next season.
And last question here on the Pagcast. Do you have any advice for aspiring sports journalists?
Take the word no out of your vocabulary. If you get the ability or the chance to work in a building with an organization, take the word no out of your vocabulary. Everything, anytime I was asked to do something, if I didn't know how to do it, I'd say, oh yeah, I know, I can do that. But how do you like it done? So I never said, no, I can't do it. I always pushed forward, did what I needed to do, and rest is history.
I'd like to thank Trevor Grout, who covers the Tampa Bay Lightning for the Sports Scrum. Thank you again, Trevor, for joining me on today's Pagcast.
No problem, buddy. Thank you.